TNTM, the show, presents the Green Hornet Tradescast Volume 1. And the trade just came out, and I've been reading it in issues, but we decided it'd be a good jumping on point for anyone who really wants to know what's going on with the Green Hornet and if Mark Waid can really write the Green Hornet and make it interesting.
I'm Pablo Gunner.
I'm the Ambassador.
Matt, owner of Age of Comics.
And that's where we are right now. We're at Age of Comics to review this.
That's why we're behind an epic collection of comics.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you were saying, we got Green Hornet, and it's Mark Waid's Green Hornet is probably the best way to put it.
And that's how they say it, how it's called when you're ordering it. It's just Mark Waid.
It is. When you guys asked to order it, we couldn't find it actually under Green Hornet. We actually found it under Mark Waid's Green Hornet.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's really weird. If you look in the book, yeah, that's where it is. It's still Dynamite. It's just...
So the Ambassador is actually, he's like he said, he's been getting them in issues, and I have not been reading them, but since there's a collection, I was like, okay, I'll read it, and then the trade, just came out last week?
Yeah,
which
just
was
last week.
November 6th, or they usually come out on Tuesdays, right?
Well,
yeah.
We get them on Tuesdays, but we can't sell them until Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
So Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. So I was like, okay, I'll read it. Something I realized is, as a trade, this reads really great, but it's also something that I noticed reads really great in issues as well. So, because there's a lot of great cliffhangers, in this book.
But you have to pick up every issue if you're reading an issue.
You will be lost, especially like I said, if you miss the first issue. You're going to be lost for sure. It'll take a while to get. It's a lot darker than I expected. I mean...
Yeah, I almost think we have the movie to blame for that.
Yeah, because when you guys said that you guys wanted to do a podcast on the Green Hornet, first thing that popped in my head was Seth Rogen, and I was just like, why? Why are we doing a Green Hornet one review? But then I was like, well, let's try and give it a shot. So I read it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot darker than, Seth Rogen fumbling around. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's completely different. It takes place in a different time period.
Oh, I love it. He's like, and the Green Hornet actually goes to people and starts going, you better give me this information right now or I'm going to pound you.
Exactly.
Right, and that's something, they establish right away, immediately is, hey, I'm actually a villain. Mm-hmm. I'm the first super villain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? And you see how it plays out. Like, one of the first things you see is he's there, like, going after some mobsters, and you're like, okay. And then this cop comes out, and he douses him in flames, sets him on fire, and kicks him off the building. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then you find out later what that was all about. But still, he really walks this fine line of like villain and hero. He essentially, what he's doing is, I'm being the villain to control
all the evil that's happening in the city.
Right.
Everything that's tearing the city down.
Right, so it's not as bad and instead. And it was really, and throughout the whole thing, it really messes with your head because and that's why I really like Kato, because Kato's
more of the
conscience which they mentioned.
Yeah, they did. They mentioned
he's just pretty much like straight by the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's why they don't get along all the time.
But it's not the brains and brawn, but it's more the conscience, and the brain is more like what it is.
Yeah. Like the Green Hornet has the money, and it's Kato supporting him as need be, kind of thing.
Yeah, and in this one, he's not as good of a fighter as Kato still, but he still can hold his own really well.
Yeah, and they kind of go toe-to-toe for a little bit there, and you see it.
Kato's so messed up.
Yeah,
stuff he does to him.
It's crazy to see the two of them kind of go hand-in-hand, because you think about it. It's like Green Hornet or Kato, who would you pick? Well, Kato, because, he's... Mm-hmm. Asian, he knows how to fight, kind of thing. But I mean,
it's funny how they mention martial arts. This thing he has a mastery over this thing called martial arts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool just how it starts. How they're like, now it's this age of technology where everybody has easy access to information. It didn't always used to be like that, and then it goes back in the day. It was, the newspaper was the say all, know all tell all, you know.
Yeah, what you read was the truth.
Right, kind of like Anchorman, you know. But anyways, the mask is really creepy too.
Yeah,
I
I
like
love
the
the mask. It looks so much better than the movie one,
I don't-
especially with like the little emblem on there.
Oh yeah, right across his face,
Right
right,
across-
over his nose
yeah.
and whatnot. Yeah, I really like that. All you see are his eyes, and that's it. I mean, everything else is covered up. His neck, he wears like the scarf and the gloves and stuff like that.
You can really see why people don't know it's him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the fact that he's walking that fine line as to where his true self is like the owner and publisher editor of the newspaper trying to do everything right and kind of thing. So he's working both ends.
Yeah, and what I love is he uses his paper as a part of a ploy to get more info.
Yeah.
Like he's like, well, just call in an editor letter.
Exactly. He sends out his guy to go like, hey, go follow this guy because I don't know a lot about him. So go figure it out. And if he meets with someone that you don't know, figure his name out and get me that information. So the guy goes out and figures all this out and gives him a call. He's like, hey, I figured it out. Then, he kind of gets jacked and whatever. But yeah, it's really the Green Hornet working both ends to get all the information that he needs so he can not rule the city but control the underworld.
Yeah. I just love the fact he has minions.
Well, that was scary too, how he uses people at his paper and puts them in their lives
danger,
in
yeah.
jeopardy and in danger. And I was like I said, on both sides, I feel like he's walking this really fine line. You know, I mean, and he realizes that. He doesn't realize that at first, and it kind of says that like, hey, I messed up, and this is how it all started, and they show you how it plays out. The other part that was really interesting and also dark was just the story that they're going with, this guy, the voice, and how they're working with, and I think this is before the Americans were actually involved in World War II, and so they're working with the Germans, so they don't really know how evil they are, and they haven't joined part of the war effort, but I feel like that's something that you definitely can jump on is go, I'm definitely on the side of the Green Hornet because it's the Nazis. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's these mobsters that are helping out the Nazis, and stuff. And then this guy shows up and he has an even creepier mask,
Right.
And so it gets pretty crazy. It's really awesome. A really great book.
Yeah, and it has this great noir-looking art to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, the art is probably, even though Mark Waid's such a good writer, I think the biggest appeal is when you open up and look at the art.
It really is, I think. And the fact that we had just discussed it, that they had switched artists halfway through, but the fact that none of us really noticed it is what you kind of want during the middle of an arc. If they change artists, you don't want to notice that they changed the artist.
Right, yeah. It was Daniel Indra at first, and then
Fryer,
I think, took over after a few issues. So, and like you said, I didn't notice at all. I was like, this looks like a different name, but I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
Didn't notice any change. Yeah, really amazing book. I didn't expect to like it at all.
Neither did I. I just read it because, like, well, it's a number one issue, and Mark Waid's writing it. Why not? Why not give it a try?
Yeah.
But what do you give it, Ambassador?
I give it a strong buy.
Strong buy. I give it a buy. I think it's definitely worth picking up. I think it's definitely worth reading. I think it's just going to get better and better as it goes on. And this is the one, it'll put its hooks in you, and then you're just going to have to keep on finding out what happens.
And that's
with the Nazis and everything like that.
It's the way Mark Waid rolls with his books.
Mhm.
He hooks you in and then just gets
Keeps
better
going.
and better.
Yeah, definitely I would say it's a buy. Wherever you can find it, it's just really good to read.
Mhm.
I was really surprised with it.
All right, well that's it for us here at Age of Comics. Keep those eyes hungry for
Comics.